Well, what to do if you're a central banker in a recession? The RBA has cut rates as low as it's willing to go and won't be changing those settings for a long time. Governor Philip Lowe confirmed today that Australia is in the worst slump since the Great Depression of the 1930s. As Stephen Long reports in the second of our three-part series, the history of recessions past suggests high unemployment could be the legacy for years to come.
The year was 1982, as factory workers walked out the gate for the last time.
In an economic recession, with unemployment running at 10%, retrenchment, redundancy and early retirement are just different words for the same reality. No job and not much chance of getting one ever again.
1974, another recession, the same terrible story.
Just got our notice, we're pretty sad.
This is the second time that I've been retrenched and I have tried everywhere to get a job.
Do you think you can live on the dole money?
No chance in the world. I've got to pay $33 a week rent. What chance have I got?
The accounts do show that Australia's in a recession. This is a recession that Australia had to have.
Despite the past 30 years of growth, Australia's history is punctuated by recessions. What lessons do they hold?
What we know from Australian history and from the history of other recessions around the world is that recessions hit fast and they take a long time to recover from. So while the unemployment rate spikes very quickly, while GDP falls very quickly, it's years, sometimes a decade, before we see the labour market getting back to the kind of condition it was in before the recessions hit.
Businesses don't survive recessions, and the people who are attached to those businesses that fail have deep personal as well as economic loss, and it takes years and years for them often to rebuild.
Nikki Hutley was in the early phase of her economics career in 1990 and 1991, when the last recession hit.
A sobering lesson for me as a brand new economist back in 91, as we started to come out, we got the first positive set of GDP numbers, and I made some snappy comment to a journalist, 6 months from now people will be saying, recession, what recession?
The last quarter of 1990 saw bankruptcies around the country skyrocket by 56%.
How wrong she was. Unemployment, which devastated lives, did not return to pre-recession levels until the next decade. And the early 90s recession was far shallower than the one we're in now. In the recession of the early 1990s, the economy shrank by less than 1.5%. This time round, we're looking at a fall of 3, 4, maybe 5 times that. And when the economy goes over a cliff that big, it takes a long time to climb back up again.
We've just seen the economy fall, Treasury suggests, by up to 8% coming up in the June quarter. When you fall off a cliff like that, the rate at which we climb back up the mountain is far less important than how far we've actually fallen.
With fears that a looming fiscal cliff, when the government support is due to be wound back, could make the recession longer and deeper.
And I'm very worried about what happens in September. Pre-COVID, we were already in a really weak economy. So the idea that we're going back to some utopian growth rate in the near future is just that. It's unrealistic optimism. Of course, we can get back there over time, but it's going to take time.
The current recession is history in the making. There's no certainty how long and deep it will be, but there will be no snapback to business as usual.